Good morning. Good morning. My name is Brian Harris, the creator of the Independent Black Voters Group. Our vote is not free. Today, I want to talk a little bit about the black agenda, one black man's opinion. Now, I talk about one black man's opinion because we are not homogeneous. We're not one person has all the answers in the black community. And I think that's one of the big mistakes that many of the candidates for presidency are doing. They're trying to find that one person and that one agenda when there are many agendas, many ideas, and many beliefs on what is good for Black America. Today I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about my beliefs. And I solely say this is one black man's agenda. I watched the debate, and truthfully, I was not impressed. I've seen various candidates, and they use different versions of the same old stump speech. If you're going to talk to me about the same thing, then I might as well stay home, and I might well shut off the cameras because you're saying the same thing. Hint to all the candidates. Talk to us about the issues that are prevalent in our community. Talk to us about what we want to talk to. Now, I'm a person that tells you I do not like being lumped in as a minority. I don't even like to be used as people of color, because the truth of the matter is we are the only people of color that endured slavery. We are the only people of color that have fought for civil rights and been denied civil rights more than any other person on this planet. So when you talk about people of color and attempt to include everybody, how about talking about the black agenda so that we know that you want to talk specifically about us? Now, and I hope this thing is working because I'm trying to get it all working so that it is right and makes sense. My thoughts to the political strategies for the Democratic candidates and why it's not working. Again, stump speeches. All candidates have the same stump speech. If you hear them one time, it's the same old package with a different container. While unemployment numbers have dropped in our community, they are still double that of the national average. We also know that while these numbers have decreased and dropped, black people are still disproportionately at the lower end of the paid wage and opportunities. Guess what? We will still be last hired, first fired. That comes back to the second point. Free, free, free. It seems like the biggest thing when you get into our community is talk about the free stuff. All the candidates believe that black Americans want everything free. They focus on free health care, free schools, free tuition, etc., all that. One of my beliefs is I want you to talk about economic inequality. I don't mind paying for something as long as I have a level playing field and I have equal opportunity to advance in this society. This is a capitalist society. We must realize it is. The people who work hard should get the opportunity, but the playing field is so unlevel that the people who don't work hard but are tied in get more of the opportunities in this new age in America. We really don't want free. We want equal opportunities. The ability to buy houses, the ability to start businesses, the ability to control our own destiny is what's important to us. We really don't want the government to give us everything, because that's never worked out, folks. Economic inequality. Black people are not everyone else. The majority of candidates want to develop a stump speech that includes us in their discussions of wealth inequality, but not talk about the reasons behind wealth inequality in the black community. It's different for the immigrant coming in than the black person that is a descendant of slavery that has dealt with 400 years of inequality Their desires, their wants are different than ours. Their needs are different than ours. Their solutions are different than ours. The government is the biggest redistributor of wealth in America. Now listen to that. The government is the biggest redistributor of wealth in America. Yet when you look at the percentage of work that goes to black businesses, it is dismal at best. We need quotas that force inclusion of black-owned businesses during the purchasing of goods and services from both the federal and the local government. Yes, I said quotas, because it doesn't work well when we talk about minorities, disadvantaged, when we talk about people of color. Why does it seem that black people always get it in the rear? Because when that happens, the numbers are basically designed to look good while we are left out of the pie in the equation. That's why it's important that we need to talk about our agenda and not everyone else's. We need to end things like the opportunity zones as we know them today. They're simply a land grab for the rich. We need to create revitalization areas that focus on black communities and are designed to favor black people in these areas and communities. We need to fix the existing programs. SBA does not work. NDOT does not work. New market tax credits, loans and grants, and programs that are designed to create opportunity in our communities, they do not, because the system is rigged. As they measure NDOT, less and less amount of African American businesses are included. The SBA program increased the definition of a small business to the point where banks prefer to lend to $18, $15 million businesses, and they send very little money to true small businesses, especially black-owned businesses. We need to require measurements for all contractors that win set-aside programs. We need to measure their employment, because being an owner of a company without employing people that look like you is not really helping our community. So we need to have internal measurements, not just for black businesses, but even for all businesses, that define and require true inclusion, and I'm talking about inclusion of black people. Into the mass incarceration. It's a great talking point. We do need to end mass incarceration. But now what are we going to do with all these people who have lost their earning years, now put out in the street, will not even get Social Security, and will be told, okay, you figure it out. Without a strong black economy to hire them, because yes, it is true, ownership and who owns does matter. Second chances do matter by who owns. Without that strong economy, we're going to find these people as homeless or back into incarceration because they got nowhere else to go. So don't just talk to me high level about ending mass incarceration. We need to have candidates that want to come in and listen. Not preach to us, but listen. Not go to their few black people who have talked to their white consultants who now give them what they think is the recipe for success in our community. It ain't working. Legalization of marijuana. A lot of talk about this. The candidates love to talk about legalization, but what about the business aspects of legalization? We've seen that the governments, and I'm talking about the local governments, the state governments, have put up these barriers of entry to make it very hard for black businesses to get into the marijuana industry, even though disproportionately black people were incarcerated for marijuana. So we need to talk both about the legalization, but we need to talk about a fair and equity opportunity on the business side, because right now it is definitely not fair and not equal, and no opportunity or very little opportunity for black people. Minimum wage versus living wage. That's interesting. They love to talk to us about raising the minimum wage. There should be a living wage, folks. All of these billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar companies like Walmart, Amazon, McDonald's, etc., should have a living wage. I believe that they should. If your income, if your revenues and your profits are a certain point, they should all have living wage jobs. But there's a difference between minimum and living. When you just raise the minimum to what they call living, you literally kill all of the small businesses who cannot compete. Across the board solutions don't work. Many times the things that they are pushing us to believe are good opportunities for us, they are not good opportunities for us. We need to look at it. There should be a minimum wage for kids to go out and work and learn. There should be a minimum wage for part-time people. There should be a minimum wage for these small mom and pop restaurants to be able to employ. But when you try to set a minimum wage as a living wage, then guess what? You destroy the fragile economy that is out there today in the black community. So we need to rethink this, and we need to let these politicians know what we think and not just use their stump speeches. This is part one of a series that we will start talking about one man's black agenda. It's part of the Independent Black Voters Speak. But we're going to take some time to dissect a lot of things that are being discussed as we try to find the right candidate that will do the right thing. Vice President Biden seems to have an inside road because he is attached to President Obama. But we need to make him talk about the issues in the black community. We need solutions-based plans that are measurable, that don't go away, and that are functionally designed to uplift the black community. I say this, and I've been saying it for many years, and now people are talking about the fact they say by 2053, black America will have no wealth in America. They didn't say people of color, even though they're following behind us. They didn't say women. They didn't say veterans. They didn't say LGBT. They said black people will have no wealth by 2053. And I will be serious when I say this. I will vote for and support no candidates I will support no candidates that do not have a defined avenue for success. I'm a believer in reparations, but let's be serious. Only 20% of the people in the United States believe in reparations. But solutions will work. We don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. We need to fix some of these items I'm talking about. New market tax credits are run through a CDC that is 98% white. Guess what? Where do you think the money goes? SBAs are driven through banks that are predominantly white. What would happen if they went to historically black banks? What if there was a kicker that said instead of 85, we went up to 93 or 95% guaranteed loans if they are lower priced loans and they're in areas that are historically black? What if we address the NDOT problem where less than 1% of the contracts that are going out go to black people? What if we address this opportunity zone, which is nothing more than a land grab, and redirect those opportunities to people living in those areas? And let's start at places like Gary, Indiana, predominantly African American. Flint, Michigan. Let's go to the areas that are economically depressed, but allow people who live there and want to live there and whose offspring want to live there to have access to capital so that they can rebuild this area. Not somebody out there, Donald Trump's son-in-law, who's buying it to build a skyscraper and really reduce the land grab for the homeless. Creates more homelessness and despair for the people that live there. I am not a believer of opportunity zones as we see them. I believe that's a great area to change the direction to zero. So this is the first of a series that we'll be talking. If you like what I say, forward it please to 10 of your friends. Ask them to join the Independent Black Voters Group. We have about 1,300 members. We need to get that up, phase 1, to 13,000 members, because we can become a voice that talks about the black agenda. We can be a voice that talks about income inequality. We can talk about social justice. But I need you to join. I need you to get your friends to join. I need you to interact. And I need you to give us feedback on how we can do better. Thank you for an edition of One Black Man's Opinion, One Black Man's Black Agenda on the Independent Black Voters Group. Peace.